Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix. This is the Political Matrix Newscast. We're doing this on Wednesday, June 5th. I've said it three other times and screwed it up 4 so far. Greg Fink in Gainesville. Yeah, there you go. Scott Miller using all of his available Spanish in that case, but I guess you're using more with your employees these days. And I'm Rob Milford. I'm in Orlando, and that's pretty muy bien, Scott. Can't complain about that. We haven't really talked about Donald Trump. Greg, let's talk about the political side of what happened post-conviction Thursday the 30th. Talk about what happened.
Well, I think what happened was he raised money like a mother. I mean, he raised, $200 million within 24 hours. And small donations are $80 million. Small donations, that was basically $50 or less. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not really also the money you're talking about. You're talking about almost 600,000 people, 600 to 700,000 donations in a 24-hour period to react to the guilty verdict of Donald Trump in New York. I think people are realizing, the whole sham is out there. The cards have been dealt. I think the Democrats are showing all their cards they got. There's nothing left for them to show. And I think, right now, between this and all the other trials being delayed, I think Trump's going to do great.
We'll get into that in a minute.
His poll numbers are doing good. He's going up.
All right, let's talk about the other thing that happened just today. Scott Miller on the case in Atlanta. What's up with that? And how do you say? I'm just going to call her Fanny because I really don't have any respect for the woman. It's what, Fanny or something?
Lord knows. I'm sure it's something pretentious.
Okay, so Fanny, what's her last name? The prosecutor in Atlanta.
Willis.
What's happened to the case in Atlanta?
Well, who could have possibly seen this coming? But she, the Georgia Court of Appeals has put the entire case on hold while they decide or hear Trump's appeal about her conflict of interest and her need to recuse herself. And the trial won't happen until October 10th, which is 24 days before the election. So the chances of anything actually happening, and certainly anything that could possibly affect the election due to that case is pretty much zero, I think.
No, I think that's absolutely fascinating. I haven't heard anything out of Miami. I've heard nothing out of Washington. What's happening?
Oh, Miami! That case is on such a slow roll. They'll be lucky to wrap that thing up midway through next year.
Mm-hmm. Or get it started, I guess, or bring it to court.
Well, no, it's in court, but the latest that I heard, Jack Smith is being raked over the coals for what really can only be described as evidence manipulation, which ought to get him in some pretty serious hot water. But these lawyers kind of look out for each other, and they may slap him on the wrist, but I don't think that they're really going to do much to him about that. But they will tank his case for him.
Well, that's good to hear. Bill Clinton was disbarred. Hillary Clinton was disbarred. So he would be in pretty good company if that happened. Right. I have no complaints about that at all. And then
Georgia,
please do.
Quick, there's a new poll that just came out 3 minutes ago. Georgia from Quinnipiac, and Trump is ahead by 5 points. Against Biden in Georgia.
And who did they poll?
They polled likely voters.
Oh well, likely voters. Okay, well that's pretty good. Okay, I'll go with that.
Okay.
And
that's,
so
Quinnipiac's normal protocol, but there's some pretty solid leanings there.
And Rasmussen has Trump ahead of 5 points nationwide. Voters.
That would be nice.
This is all after the trial. It's like today and yesterday.
Okay.
Today and yesterday, these polls are.
So here's the real question: the Democrats
because you
look at
remember
that.
the reason that Trump was illegitimate under Hillary Clinton's case, in Hillary Clinton's opinion, is because she won the popular vote and he only won this technical victory. Well, okay, we'll just go ahead and win the popular vote too then.
I was mostly curious about, are the Democrats looking at numbers like this and then they figure out how many ballots they have to print up and mark just with the presidency and nobody else, not Congress, senator, governor, dog catcher in Georgia. I'm just thinking that would be probably it. Georgia, it's a funny thing. It is the biggest or second biggest state east of the Mississippi. It has more counties than any other state except Texas. 159 counties in Georgia. That is an awful lot of local politicians.
Right.
I mean, there are sometimes you get in the car and you leave your county and you cross another county and are in a third county before the air conditioning really kicks in. That's how it is. Oh, say, what do we have? Trump versus Biden. What are we looking at there? Trump, what?
I can't read the graphic. Trump. Yeah, I mean, Trump is ahead in every single poll. Fox News, The Hill, New York Times. I mean,
political and most of them are outside the margin.
I mean, they're all exactly. I mean, this is well after the trial. This is after. I mean, this is in Georgia.
Right. Explain what the margin is, and how do you get a margin?
Well, the margin of error for most of the time, most polls these days are constructed to try to achieve a margin of error around 3 to 4%, and so which means that the actual results could vary one way or the other, either way, by as many as 4 points. But in these cases, once you start exceeding that range, that 4 point, like plus or minus 4 points, well, right here we've got one. Don't go too far. Well, I mean, some of these polls have even better. Like there's a 2.8, a 3.0, there's a 4, a 4.5, a 3.33. Right. So, and I don't care about the registered voter ones. They're stupid to begin with. But
well, the political report's likely voters, and that's a 4-point margin of error, and it's 47-44. The New York Times is likely voters. That's a 4.6 MOE, and that's 50-41. That's a big one. 9 points ahead. That's the New York Times one.
With likely voters.
With likely voters, correct.
People who might actually are at risk of actually casting a vote.
Yeah.
Do you think the Republican Party nationwide is going to be able to get into the Democratic playbook and actually go out and do ballot harvesting and making sure they get as many ballots as possible to the elections office nationwide? Are they going to be able to cheat the way the Democrats did?
No, there's a dangerous side of ballot harvesting that Scott and I talked about a couple of weeks ago. And it's just, I mean, there's a human error there of, leaving all these ballots entrusted with somebody who might not have their opponent's idea of winning as it being in their best interests at all. And they might just, be at a red light or be somewhere and throw out the ones that they don't like. They could have a relative who's running, and because there's also a lot of down ballot races here. Everybody's just talking about the top of the ballot. There's going to be everything from school board races to county commissioner races to amendments to social, different things. And I think it's too much human error to trust somebody who's, not going to be objective. I mean, first of all, if you're picking up ballots, you're already politically active. Okay. You're not a politically inactive person. So being a politically active person, you already have a bias built in of how you think the election should go down ballot all the way from the top to the bottom. And then leaving that person in charge of picking them up and being trusting that they're going to turn them all in. There's Republicans who are going to screw that up. There's Democrats. It's a multi-party screw up.
Yeah, but the Democrats made it work. That's why Joe Biden had 81 million votes, more than any politician in American history.
Okay. Well, they fall off a cliff. We'll fall off a cliff after them. But it's illegal in Florida, first of all. And so you can't really do it here. And it's illegal in, I think, around 13 or 14 other states. And so it's not legal nationwide.
Well, but the object is where it is legal to get it done. It's been a good episode. Before we pull the plug today, I need to talk about Jovita Tellez. Jovita Tellez was one of the last waves in the United States Navy, because because the Navy in World War II didn't have women. They do now. In fact, the Chief of Naval Operations is a woman. I kind of missed that one, but that's the subject of the Biden Biden White House, the Biden regime, basically. She Jovita Tellez graduated from high school near San Antonio, and then had to wait for about a year to join, and she joined in 1945. She just died last week in San Antonio. They had her funeral yesterday, and I think it is very prophetic, because after World War II, they changed the policy, and women could, in fact, be in the United States Navy. Right. My Aunt Paige was a yeoman secretary at a Navy base on at Barron Field on the west side of Pensacola. And when I moved to Pensacola, I said, "Guess where I am?" She goes, "Where?" I said, "I'm at Barron Field." "Where was your office?" And of course, there's nothing there now. After she was done at Barron Field, she was transferred to Washington to work with Grace Hopper, developing the first computer. And the Navy, of course, had the very first computer, a product of World War II. But why did they have a computer, you may ask? I bet Greg Fink knows. I bet Scott Miller knows. No? Gunfire. You had the computer to figure your ship was moving at this angle, at this speed, and the target was there at what distance, so you knew how to aim the gun. And that's what the computer came up with. Amazing. But that is true. So I thought we should mention Ms. Tellez, who served her nation in a time of war. And, we've got multiple U.S. veterans in France for D-Day right now. In fact, 10 members of Congress, 10 members of the U.S. Congress are jumping out of airplanes in France, over France, on D-Day. I know, including Florida Congressman Michael Walz, who was a colonel in the U.S. Army Special Forces, a Green Beret for many, many years. And he is going to... Oh, no. Basically, if after 20, 30 some years, you're probably in triple digits with no problem at all. Of course, Dan Crenshaw, the crazy one-eyed seal from Texas, he's in on that as well. I think the world of Dan Crenshaw, man. You talk about I'm not putting up with any bullshit. That's Dan Crenshaw right to a T. So I hope all of their parachutes open. That's number one, because the majority of them, well, they're all Army and Navy guys, and they're all veterans. And so you try to find a Democrat member of Congress who's a veteran. Really short list. Watch it. Wait, let me find a matchbook, and you could write it on grease pencil. That'd be about where it is. So, gentlemen, good. Now, a former member of Congress. Is she still in?
Oh, that's
right. No, she's not.
No, she's not. No, but there you have it. You have a good one, and I hope you're feeling better, Greg. Thanks for getting out of bed and trying not to sneeze on us all show. Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Say good night, Scott. Say good night, Scott.
Good night, Scott.
There you go.
Good night, Greg.
Good night, Rob.